Hello and welcome to another episode of the MARF Files. It's been a minute since I've done one of these. Been busy playing some shows, which has been nice. Robert and I got to go see Suzanne Chani play here in Seattle about a month or so ago, and that was pretty amazing. Finally got to see her for the first time, and she pops up so much in these videos because she's the champion of the MARF. So yeah, sorry I've been away, but yeah, I wanted to come back and do an episode that focuses actually a lot of what Suzanne does in a way by using the MARF as a sequential switch. So to the left of the MARF, I have on loan a MEMS version of the sequential voltage source, model 245. That Chip was able to send me a couple weeks ago, and check out these start and stop buttons. They are amazing. Look at that. They feel like butter. They are like $1 million each too. It's kind of wild. So yeah. So a sequential switch. The basis of this patch is using the external inputs from another sequencer, and we've kind of, we kind of have touched on this in earlier episodes too. I used the 266 source of uncertainty into the external inputs, and I think I did set up I was basically sequencing through different outputs of the 266 into the external inputs and processing them, and kind of bouncing back between each of the different states to, produce different outputs, voltages. And so we're going to kind of do that again, and we're going to use a lot of the techniques that we've gone over in the past, 6 or 7 or 8 or however many episodes of these that we've done so far. So it kind of throws a lot of different things that we've done before together into explaining why this is the best sequential switch ever made. 50 years ago it was made. It's kind of wild, or at least in my opinion. Okay, to get this started patching up, what we're going to do is clank around a lot of cables, and we'll start patching the 245's outputs into the external inputs. As I'm all tangled up as I do this. Okay, so I'm going to patch the output from row A to input A, and from output B to input B, then C, then D. I'll kind of do that all together. Right, so I've got our 4 outputs from the 245 into the external inputs of the 245. I'm going to then patch, let's just work with 1 right now. My main voltage output, I'm going into the 258, the upper sawtooth oscillator, and that'll go through low pass gate. And so yeah, just to start off, a cool thing to do is to, I'm going to first kind of program in the, that I'm going to read the external source, right? So I'm now going to read these, and so A will go to external input A, B, C, and D. So kind of as I sweep up this slider, it's going to switch through the 4 outputs. So let's hear that. So, that's just down row 1 of this. what I've kind of done, I've already kind of pre-patched these tuned up these outputs, which doesn't sound like it, but that's because I tuned them all by using the quantize section of the MARF, and I've jumped up to the +4 kind of octave range here. So now I'm actually using two of the same notes, I guess, in this row. But by quantizing it, I'm kind of limiting the output range of these to just 1 octave. So I'm on A, so if I move the A knob, you can hear that it just quantizes evenly because I'm using the 1.2 volt input on my oscillator, so it all tracks very nicely. So then if I advance to the now second stage of the 245, I've got 4 new notes. And so on. So now, okay, so we've got this kind of patched up, but let's start automating these switches, right? So kind of what we need to do then is set up a section or kind of sequence our MARF to then play the different notes from the 245. So let's do let's do a first. I have to kind of punch in my ranges, my quantize. I'm probably going to miss a couple things and have to go back through here. Let's just we'll just start out with 4 notes right now. So, what I'm actually going to do, so now if I use the kind of internal pulsar clock of the 245, I'm then going to clock the MARF with that. And I'm just going to do it on the first step. So every time that it hits the first output, it's then going to advance the sequence forward. And it looks like I missed a thing there. Okay. So I'm also going to, I guess I'll just turn up the low pass gate. So we're hearing these 5 notes from this top row of the A output of the 245. So if we want to kind of extend this to where we're going to go through our 5 steps of row A and then go to row B, we'll then put up our second stage. So it went through row A and then row B and then back down or back to A. So then we can So we're now kind of have stretched this out to where we're hearing all 20 steps sequentially before going back to our row A and the first step there. But obviously you don't have to have it with this, we're malleable. We can kind of shape which sequence we're hearing at any time with this, and we can use other stages to draw out the sequence and kind of repeat maybe 2 lines of B before then we go to A, and then we finish with row D. So it's pretty cool to kind of on the fly be able to change this up and pull from different rows. This is kind of the basis of like what Suzanne Ciani does with her 16-step sequencers. A lot of times she will just kind of have, or a certain part of her set, she'll just be set on her first stage and kind of select which sequence she wants to address there and just kind of do it manually. But obviously we can do it sequentially like we just did. Now what's cool with the MARF, so this is all with, we're just hearing 1 octave of this. But what we could do is we could, actually let's extend our sequence a bit. We'll go to 8. Now I gotta add all my modifiers. So now I've got 8 different sections that we're kind of bouncing between. And I can add, I've got the +4 octave on each of them, but I could add some to be different octaves. Could add a slope between a few of them. So it'll just kind of ramp. Just within the transitions between the stages on the MARF, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, that's kind of general, one way, I guess, to kind of set this up into, extending your rows of sequences, and making them a 20. I mean, we could limit the amount of stages here. So if we wanted to just use, 1 through 4, and make a 16-stage sequence, but we would just only need to use 4 of the stages on the MARF to kind of sequentially pulse through those and play all those notes. What's cool about the MARF is we have another output though. So we could potentially kind of set up another oscillator to pull from these notes that are coming in here and process them differently. So let's work on doing that. I'll patch up this oscillator and we'll use the other set of notes here. So bear with me while I try and get this all set up. Okay. So now I will So I don't have this, I just have the clock kind of free running right now. which obviously sounds a bit janky. So we can kind of bridge over here and find all my short patch cables to try and do this. So now probably do actually is kind of tune up the oscillator a little bit. And maybe I'll add some a 281 for each of these. I guess this can actually, before I kind of do that, so we've kind of now seen how we can have two of these going, pulling from these notes, and have them kind of set up differently to get two different outcomes. You can, you know, they're both going 8 and 8. I could shorten the second one and have the last stage be 15. So they're going to have uneven. It's going to have 8 stages on this side and 7 stages on this side, so they'll kind of get out of sync according to which rows of sequencing they're pulling from. So pretty cool. So this was with basically the 245 kind of clocking our MARF to, you know, sequentially switch this, right? But we could, another kind of thing that Suzanne Shani does is kind of reverse this to where we're having the MARF clock the 245. So let me unplug this stuff. And I'll unplug its clock. And this gets into a type of patch that she has in her cookbook called the vertical sequencer. So I'll put this on stage 1. I'm gonna put a set a pulse output to advance the advance the MARF. Or advance the 245. Let me get there. Okay, so now if I turn up this oscillator again, now what's going to happen is the MARF is going to run through its 8 stages, and it's going to pick out all the notes, kind of arpeggiate between all these rows of their outputs before it then. So it's going to go through 8, and then when it comes back to 1, it'll advance to section 2 and arpeggiate through all these notes. So let's hear what that sounds like. And so pretty cool that, you know, if we have all these, we can kind of start at A again, you know, and we're just now have like a slower sequence, right? But we can just have it pull from a few different notes. there's lots to pull from within here. You can kind of always keep evolving it if you want to. Then what we could do, and now let's get some gates going for this. And I'm also going to clock our other side of the MARF. So it'll be in time with this one. And I'll get its own little pass gate going. And maybe I'll get some kind of shifting timbres going, so I'll turn on a couple other looping channels of the 281. So you can hear I've got this side of the MARF is just all set on this +4 range, and then where I've got the other side, it's kind of bouncing between some higher octaves. So we can kind of split that further, and I can set this side to be kind of lower. It's kind of cool. One thing we could also do is, I don't remember, I forget kind of what episodes I did what in, but we're having this side of the MARF clock the other, and we kind of talked about different levels of clocking, and where you can still engage the internal clock while it's being kind of synced to another pulse source. So we could kind of ramp up the speed of this side during this, and so they're not kind of completely in time. So we're in the stop, kind of where it's hard synced right now, but I could press start. Which is kind of cool. We could also do like ultrasonic. Kind of a double time over that. So yeah, pretty cool way to pull a lot out of just 20 notes. I mean, I've always thought the 245 is just kind of a funky funky sequencer, because I guess just we kind of think, I think a lot of times in electronic music, your sequencers kind of are usually much larger, being 8 to 16 steps a lot of the time. So you're like, 5, what can I do with that? But sequential switch, you can get your 16 plus 20 and do really kind of cool things like this to pull even more functionality out of it. So one other thing that I kind of fell into while using this, which still kind of plays within the sequential bit of it, but it's more of just kind of what you can do, just a very cool pairing between these two, is especially like with this patch that we just did, we're kind of, we're sequencing along this y-axis of these columns. But that got me thinking, like, well, what if we were able to not only kind of, use these sliders to bounce between the y-axis of these, but also the x-axis of these, and be a little bit more deliberate instead of just kind of having everything be sequentially going left to right based on its own internal clock or our external clock. We can use the one side of the MARF to, in its output, to go into the analog input of the 245, and we can use its sliders to control the x-axis. So I need to kind of adjust this quickly. I'll maybe start back at, we'll just give ourselves, give ourselves 5 steps to kind of go along with our max 5 steps of the 245. I need to pull off kind of all the ranges. And there we have it. Okay, so yeah, 9 to 13 is going to be this. So now, yeah, if you can see here, if I have, or actually let me use 9. I have the slider all the way down, so we're on stage 1, but if you see, if I move the slider up, we go to 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think the range between this and I think this input, it's not calibrated correctly, so we've got a lot of range on our slider, so it's kind of like a shorter range that we're getting from here to address these. But we can go, let's maybe start on 3, 1, 5, 4, and 2. So now, let me get my sequence going a little bit slower. So let's see here. Let me 5, 4, 2, 3, and there's kind of a funky thing where like it doesn't want to see 0 volts. It like wants to see 1 to get to the 1 stage. So now we should probably, yeah. So we can see we're now doing, we're not sequentially kind of going left to right. We have this in time with this function generator, but now we can use its, our kind of x-axis along with our y-axis from this function generator. And let me clock. Now we kind of got to go the other way, and I'm going to we'll start, and actually we'll limit our range here to just be steps 1 through 4. So we're only hearing the outputs from A, but then we can, we can then hear everything from B, but it's in a non-linear order and all the way up. But we could be then going back here and messing with our order here. So now we have kind of set up, I don't know, what I feel like is we've got this matrix sequencer. We're able to address the x-axis with this output and then run its inputs back in here through this output to be our y-axis. And, you know, we still have all the cool kind of functionality. And, you know, I could push all these, you know, we could broaden how many stages that I could be accessing to kind of pull more out of this, right? We could push this up to 8 to kind of sequence this in 8 different steps, and, you know, change directions on every different step or hold some, and then same with these, kind of with the y-axis. So yeah, pretty awesome. I definitely suggest to try this out. Let me know if you do. I think it's been pretty fun to mess around with. You know, you can really kind of, you know, it gets past kind of, you know, we could be using the analog input with random, but if you want to be, you know, and kind of get similar results, but if you want to be very deliberate about your composition, you could be using a technique like this to really kind of pull the most out of your 20 available steps, if you will, from these from the 245. So yeah, I think I've blabbed on long enough about this. Thanks for tuning in again, and yeah, I'll have to get back to being more regular with these soon. All right, happy patching.